Good morning from beautiful downtown Chagrin Falls. My name is John Hall and welcome to the 2022 educational series on kitchens. And before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping for people that have been with me in the past and people that haven't been. My name is John Hall. I have been doing kitchens and baths since 1984. I've lost count of the years, if anybody knows how to count that high. And I still have as much fun as the day I started. The webinar series was created due to the pandemic. And what happened was people have followed me in the past. They know I'm one of the featured speakers down at the Home and Garden Show. And so what happens is that I would give, a bunch of seminars. They're very popular. I also teach adult ed design courses. And through the pandemic, what happened, that all got shut down and I decided to go virtual. And my business has gone virtual too, where people I can meet virtually or in person or what have you. But one of the interesting things that I did to help you folks and people, I've got so many compliments over the last 2 years, is that I've done webinars through the pandemic every other week. And we'll talk about that at the end because I recorded them and they're very helpful. And it got through a lot of people through some tough times, giving them some positive thoughts and things like that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on Kitchen Trends 2022. In 2 weeks, if you have not signed up for it, sign up for it because it is my favorite one. And that is 25 design tips to the perfect kitchen. And believe me, it's not 25 tips. It's a heck of a lot more. And then also following up after that is going to be the design class, where we talk about everything that can go into a kitchen. It's like a 2-hour program. And then we also have one for bathrooms. Okay, so let's get started here. One of the things, and if everybody can hear me okay, hopefully everything's going well and you can see the screen. And then also you can ask questions as you go, or you can email me at the end. And you can, I would be happy to respond via email or whatever, and let me know your thoughts on the webinar. This will be recorded and you can go back if you so choose to get into my subscription package. You can get in there and you can look at this, listen and watch at your leisure. So getting started on kitchen trends. I am traditionally, I've not been a big believer of trends because when I go into a space, I'd like to look at the architecture of the home, get to know the people and things like that. And one of the first things I'll say to people is, do you care what the industry's doing? I would say probably about 30 to 40 of you care, 30 to 40 of you really don't care, and so it all is all in the eye of the beholder. So as we go through, I'll give you some examples of what I think is personally here to stay, what I think is going to be more of a little bit of a fad. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, if you also, something that's valuable, go back last year, if you get into that webinar series, because I have the Trends 2021. Some of them are carried over and some of them are new. But what we're going to do today, the main themes we're going to talk about, personalization in the kitchen, innovation. These are all going to fall under the trends. Color. I'm going to start my first slide off with the color of the year, and I always go to Sherwin-Williams color, and it'll be interesting to see what it is this year. Last year it was the, oh God, I'm losing track of the years. Last year, 2 years ago was the navy, and then last year might have been the urban bronze or vice versa. And then minimalism. You're going to find that there's going to be some themes of minimalism in what we talk about today. Okay, there it is. Drum roll. Evergreen Fog is the color of the year with Sherwin-Williams. And you can see it's just a muted. One of the things that's been happening, especially in bathrooms, is that people want that more relaxed spa type feel. When we get hit with this pandemic, I tell you, I've been doing this since '84. So then you'll know, well, John, if you've been doing this since '84, that means that you were doing kitchens when the Gulf War started. You were doing kitchens when the crash hit. You were doing kitchens on 9/11. You were doing kitchens when the bubble broke. And the reason I'm saying that is, that's when the phone rings even more, is when these things happen. Like during the pandemic right now, it's incredible. even during the pandemic. And what's the reasoning for that? People are cocooning. And that term is used where people just tend to want to stay home. One of the things, as a side note, I'm a biker. I like to outdoor bike, but the best thing I ever invested in the last 2 years was a Peloton. And now all of a sudden this morning, even before I came in here, I bought a stand for my iPad to do the meditation and the yoga with the Peloton feature. So just more and more people are staying home, and they're comforting and soothing, and they want to be able to enjoy their spaces. Here's a couple examples of that theme, with the shades of green. Just very subtle. Look at that kitchen, how welcoming it is. You're going to notice also, I'm going to be pointing out a couple of other things as we go through that will help you understand when you start shopping and things like that as we go through each of these slides. Look at the floor, and that's going to come up in a little bit, but more of the bold style flooring as we're getting back to that and making a statement as you go through there. But you see the greens. Now, one of the things with if you look at the top right with that slide, I have a young lady in Aurora right now, and boy, did she pick the prettiest color. It's almost like a deep hunter green, and it's not painted, it's stained. It's like a pigmented stain over it. I have another client down in Canal Fulton that basically did that same thing, that deep. You almost look at it and say, is it green? Is it gray? But it gives such a beautiful, warm, welcoming feel. Gold accents. Okay, this is something that you're going to see a lot of, and talk about being around the block once or twice. This has come and gone twice in my era, but it's beautiful. And one of the things that it's not that polished gold, and it's not that polished brass, but it's almost like it's subdued. It's almost like an antique brass, but it's antique gold, and it's really, really warm. Another feature, so that like when we talk about, I'm going to just keep throwing things at you, but we go and we talk about the mixing metals, and in this picture, that's going to be one. I'm giving away a lot of the secrets coming up, but mixing metals is very popular. People say, well, do I need to have it that gold everywhere? Look at the faucet. Look at the hood. Isn't that beautiful how that hood is incredible how that worked, where they've gone and tied in the gold, the black, and the stainless, all within the same hood, So all of these things, and look at the sink, so mixing the metals and going with the gold accents, very, very popular. Something else, as we're on this slide, I'm just going to keep throwing things at you here, is that look at the countertop. What's the difference on that countertop? If anybody notices, countertops are usually, you guys are used to 1.5 inch countertops. That is not the going thing today, is what that's called a dropped edge, thicker countertop. I don't know what stone, it's hard to tell today. That might be a quartzite, or it could be quartz. It looks too authentic to be quartz, but notice that how the veining is returning down on the sides. And that's a mitered, it's called a mitered drop edge. So if you're looking, somebody right now, and we're going to come up and talk about countertops in a moment. Somebody asked me the other day, okay, from Hudson, if anybody out there is from Hudson doing a kitchen, and they said, can we go with the same countertop everywhere, or should we break it up? Now, I happen to be more, if you go back and look at that first slide when we talked about the themes, I happen to fall under that minimalistic category. This is a beautiful kitchen. Would I do everything here? No, not necessarily. But one of the things that people aren't doing as much today as they did in the past is mixing the countertops. If you go on my website, you'll see very few mixing of countertops. But one of the things that I said to the people in Hudson, I said, you don't need to, you can still make it different. You can make it different by making the island thicker and more of a slab appearance, and then have the other perimeter area be that standard 3 centimeter, which is 1 3/16. So, okay. you're going to get your money's worth today. I'm going to give you much more than just the trends. 2 island kitchens. Okay. Now there was one slide it's going to come up and it surprised me, but this is one that, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But this is one where you get the feel of openness and open space. You know, there's so many people out there that I've worked with over the years, and you'll see my jobs on my website and things like that, where they just want to open it up. You know, my daughter just moved from the Heights to another home, and I asked her after a weekend, and she said, Dad, I cannot believe it, because she moved into an open floor plan on the first floor. So the whole thing is open. She could be watching the kids playing, they can have a fire going, they can be doing everything. That's what people are looking for when they go into remodeling a lot of times. But we're starting to see a little bit of a reversal, which will come up in a minute. But you notice here, look at the 2 islands. I would say probably 25 to 30% of my kitchens today have 2 islands. Okay. Notice on the left, I'm sorry, that this is a more modern feel. This is a kitchen that would be like the one I was talking about down in Canal Fulton. Look at that color. It's almost like that. It's a green, but it could tend to have a little bit of gray in it too. But look at the thicker countertop there on that 1 island, you know, dropping it down and returning it. Okay, and then we go over on the other side, and we have the more of a traditional look. One thing too that you have to decide when you get involved and you're going to do your remodels and things like that is, do you want to put any cooking apparatuses on the island, like sinks or cooking, you know, things like that. You know, I personally like it, you know, to have something on the island in case I'm entertaining or my kids are over, my wife, you know, while I'm cooking. By the way, I do a ton of cooking, people. So I can talk from experience as we go. I'm already thinking what I'm going to cook for dinner tomorrow. Creative backsplashes. Okay, so what do we do to make a statement? And I'll give you some names of places that I go that I love to shop at. One of them is Virginia Tile in Warrensville. And Virginia Tile, if you're writing notes, you deal with Jolene, or you deal with Heather, the manager. And you go in, and I love to go in there like a kid in a candy store. And I go through and show people exactly what they can do and where you can really make a statement. And the backsplash is a place to do that. And not only where the backsplash is, but the hood also. So you might want to tie the hood into this conversation, because that really becomes a focal point. And if you look there, how beautiful that is, and if you're looking at it from the family room or whatever. One of the things with tile and backsplashes today, people are tending to go larger in size. So even today's standard, this is called a subway tile. This is a little bit more on the smaller size. That looks like a 3x8 or a 3x9. A lot of times people are even going into the 4x12s, or even larger than that. So you can really create some beauty with it. And it doesn't have to necessarily be, let me go back. Okay, now we can go back and look at these kitchens. It doesn't necessarily need to be tile. Look what they did on that top right. Okay, they ran the quartz up. Look what they did on the left. That's really intriguing. They went, and that looks almost like soapstone there, but they ran the soapstone up where the hood is, and then they did a beadboard with a higher, instead of a 4-inch splash, they went with a 6-inch splash. So you can really make a statement with it, with all of this tile. Even there, look what they did. Okay, they went and created a more of a geometric pattern. Something else, we talk about trends. Do you notice behind that range what you see there? Pot filler. That used to be very, very popular. That's sort of waned off over the last several years. Not to say don't put it in, but all depends on, I always talk when I'm down at the show is, what do people come to me and ask me what a kitchen costs? I have no idea. I've only been doing this 38 years. I have no idea what a kitchen costs. You guys decide what the kitchen costs. There's going to be about 30 to 40 $1,000 decisions when you're doing your kitchen, and that pot filler is one of them right there. Black accents. This is big. This is really, really big. People, I would say at least 7 out of 10 of you, when you come and see me, you're going to want black accents. And look how beautifully it was done here. Number one, if you can see that picture on the island, if you can look close, that's what I mean about not a paint, but a stain. You can see that's a deep black stain, almost gray, has gray highlights to it on the island. Look how they beautifully tied it in to the backsplash, you know, picking up the black veining. Look at the sconces, I'm sorry, the pendants over the island. And then you get the cabinetry. The one thing I think is really out of scale on this that would bother me is look how small the black hard and black knobs are on the cabinetry. You know, knobs are not as popular as poles. People say to me all the time, what should I do? If you're looking for a transitional look, you'll learn what transitional is in the kitchen class or get on my webinars, but you'll see that a transitional look warrants more of a, look at the bottom, those long extended poles there. They add such a beautiful touch to that. Yesterday, I had to do a virtual, putting a new window in, enlarging a window in Pepper Pike, and I had to go in front of the Architecture Review Board. And I was number 5th in line. And number 4th in line was somebody that's building a house. The architect was there. And they wouldn't pass it because they wanted black windows. And if you go see, everybody's putting in black windows today. And the lady brought up a really an interesting point. She said, you know, black doesn't go everywhere. Black works well in certain applications. So you just have to remember that. You just don't throw black up there. You know, does black on white work? It works here. The only thing is it really makes a statement. Would black work more beautifully on a slate or a gray, a light gray kitchen? Phenomenally. So, you know, it all depends where you put it also. So you have to be careful of that. Notice here that this kitchen definitely, without question, I would have done a thicker countertop on the island. Do you see how the scale, it just seems like the scale is off on that, having that 3 centimeter. We talked about this already, but here are better examples of it, mixing metals. Do not be afraid to be creative and mix the metals. Don't be afraid to get into that gold. Let me talk about some of the metals out there so that you know. Okay, we talked about one is black. We talked about the one is like the burnished gold. By the way, if you look at that right, kitchen right there, that is a very popular color, you know, right now. So you can see. Okay. Question just came up by Jackie. Good morning, Jackie. Was that a speed and a steam oven in that last kitchen side by side? And to answer your question, let me go back. Yes, it is. Okay. It's hard to tell by the slide, you know, what that is, but yes, that looks like a Miele steam and a Miele speed oven. One of the things, if you guys are out there, the only negative with this virtual is I don't get to know you as much. If you guys are out there, and maybe throw me some lines, you know, if you guys are doing kitchens or what's your intent here, because I can elaborate on what's going on in the world at the end of this if you want to know. But really take that kit. This is all free. I mean, you didn't pay for this. You're not paying for it in 2 weeks. You wouldn't pay for the kitchen class. You really need to take that kitchen class and that 25 tips where we really get involved and talk about what is a steam and what is a speed oven. Okay. Okay, so let's go back here. Mixing the metals again, looking at that kitchen on the right. I would say that's probably one of my more popular kitchens today, that color. You know, going with the gold accents. mixing the black in, things like that. There again, you notice that all these pictures, you're looking at busier, more statement floors. I don't know if I would necessarily be a big fan of that, but it is popular today. You look at the middle slide, look at the floating shelves. Very popular, people putting in the floating shelves today. And then anything else I see here? I'm going to jump ahead because it's going to come up, but there's two of them in the slide. Wood hoods have made a huge comeback. Let's see here. What else is on this slide here that I have? You got the wood hood in the left, you got the wood hood on the right, and then you got the metal. And you notice that all of them are making really nice statements. At the end of the day, again, I hate to belabor the point. It all comes down to, what do you guys want to spend? What do you want to spend? I mean, to put a wood hood in, you could be anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 by the time you put the blower package and everything in. To put a metal hood in, you could be $500 to $800. And it all depends on the type of cooking. Are you going to do pro style cooking? Are you going to do, are you going to do just more residential cooking where you don't need to have the heavier blowers and things? Walnut. I would have to say, this is not the best slide of it. If anybody out there is modern, maybe hit me, if anybody out there is modern, hit me a little comment. But walnut is really, really becoming popular. It's always been, but it's really, really making a comeback. If you get on my website, I really don't promote cabinetry, things like that. It's more educational based, but one of the things, I have a link right on the homepage to Leicht, L-E-I-C-H-T. If anybody out there is modern, even if you're not modern, boy, open that up. You can download their catalog. It's a German line that I sell. What beautiful kitchens, and you could really get a feel of some interesting things. But you'll see a lot of walnut there. That where I had to go in front of the Architectural Review Board, I'm doing their bathroom also, and they picked walnut for the bathroom, just a nice slab, walnut, very warm and welcoming. There's the wood hoods. Okay. And if you go look at that left wood hood, that's a popular color today in wood. Where people they might go and say, now when I say don't mix countertops, that does not mean I'm not a big believer of mixing the cabinetry. I do a lot of white kitchens, and they do islands like in that that brushed maple glaze. Almost looks like a mid-tone maple, and they used a dark black glaze on it. Statement floor. I'll let you guys decide on that one. About the statement floor. When you go to Thomas Brick, you will see a lot of, or even Virginia Tile, you'll see a lot of statement floors out there. Even the Mexican tiles are coming back a little bit. But most of my clients are either going to put wood in. They might have wood elsewhere in the house and they want to just run it through. Or they might go into, there's a product out there called porcelain tile, which again, that's for the kitchen class, but phenomenal. Okay, here's a tough one. This one right here causes me, I'm not going to say grief because it doesn't cause me grief, but it causes me it causes my clients a lot of sleepless nights. Luxury vinyl tile. Okay, you guys know that word vinyl and say, oh my God, vinyl, why would I be doing this and spending all this money and put in a vinyl product? Well, you know why? Because look how great it looks. And if you go in, I mean, you could go and duplicate bamboo, you could duplicate tile, ceramic tile, you could even grout it. You can duplicate woods. So where's the advantage of this? The huge advantage is if you have tile throughout everywhere, this can go over the tile and really, really give you a great look. Marshall, I'm very particular with the people I work with and the clients that I use, well, they come to me because they trust me. That's number one. And they're going to go where I tell them to. And Marshall, maybe some of you have used Marshall in the past. They're right on Mayfield. They've been around for 75 years or whatever. They're fabulous, and they sell this, and they have a ton of it on display there. Most of what you're going to see with it is going to be wood looking, like this is. But it's a great product. It's easy as far as if you have dogs and animals and young kids and things like that. It's a great product to have around. The only negative to that, all of a sudden, if I'm going into Cleveland Heights or Shaker Heights or somewhere, and they already have wood elsewhere, I don't know if I would, I wouldn't put this in up against it. My wife right now is looking to have us refinish the wood floors upstairs, and they need a lot of work and patching and things like that. And she says, "What do you think about the luxury vinyl tile?" And I said, it'd be great. The only problem is we've got the real wood going to be butting right up to it, and it's going to not look as authentic as I would like it to. So go visit Marshall. Ryan is the owner's son. He'll take good care of you. Okay, appliances. Boy, talk about appliances and spending time and things like that. I'm going to give you some appliance stores when you start looking to go where to go. And these are the only places that I would go buy appliances in Cleveland. Number one is I would go to a place called Ferguson's. And Jackie, you had asked that question earlier. She worked with me this week with Erin, and hopefully she enjoyed working her time with her. But they'll spend a lot of time with you. They have all the major brands on the floor and things like that. When we talk about steam ovens, which I think if you really cook, you need to put a steam oven in your kitchen. But steam ovens, you can even take a piece of fish in, and they'll put it in the steam oven and cook it for you, so you can see how it works and everything. I'm not going to talk about appliances today, but I'm just going to say that's there. And then also Jim out at Bloom Brothers is phenomenal, and he'll take very good care of you. If you have any West Siders here, I would still make the trip to Ferguson's, or there's a guy named John at Interstate Kitchens on the West Side. But going into appliances, I mean, these things today are incredible, and what you can do. When we were looking at under-counter refrigeration this week, they have an under-counter drawer now that will convert to a freezer or refrigerator, depending on what your needs are that week. They have the technologies there. One of the things before the pandemic hit, I was in Germany every year, and just to see what's going on over in Europe and what's there, they're going to have an oven out there, and I didn't even see portable ones now. I think they're doing it where it's refrigerated. Like, what if you want to put in a roast, but it has you work all day and you don't get home till a certain time. Well, they can keep it refrigerated, and then it can go and turn it on, and you can control it from all over the world. So, on and on. Alexa, all these things. But when you get into the cooking with the smart appliances, let me give you an example. Okay, you take a steam oven. Now, a steam oven is convection cooking and it's steam. It all works in unison. You can take and put in asparagus on a perforated tray and season it, and then put salmon underneath it. It will cook, and the salmon will come out like no salmon you've ever had, and have the seasonings dripping down from the asparagus, and not one will taste or smell anything like the other. Now, and the other thing with these smart appliances is they will tell you when to put the asparagus in, when to put the salmon in, and cook it perfectly for you. So that's what's happening in the technology out there with these smart appliances. I am just absolutely scratching the surface. If you don't happen to follow me in the kitchen class, I'll tell you right now, my favorite brands out there, Bosch, for the dollar is an absolutely terrific brand. Miele, I've got Miele stamped on my forehead, Miele, and then Sub-Zero Wolf is another brand. There's other good brands, but it just seems that most people end up with those brands that I represent. Flat front cabinets. Now, you could say, we could call it flat front cabinets. That's what the trend is saying. Or we can say modern style, a little more modern style, becoming very popular. Just very understated, elegantly understated. That's where you would get involved in the walnut. You would get involved in some of the other woods, or you can get into your lacquers, things like that. But get on that Liked website, because it can be very helpful to see, a lot of this stuff. Closed kitchens. This is the one I said, this is probably my little bit of when I was doing my study, is people are tending to keep the kitchens, or the trend this year is to keep them closed off a little more. Somebody I'm working with in Highland Heights, I had to convince them to open the wall into the family room. They were thinking more, John, I just don't want, when I'm cooking, give me a couple stools around the island, but I just don't want to have everything going on all around and have a problem and be, always distracted and things like that. So I have not seen a great deal of this yet. It's hit me once or twice, but a lot of the times where people again are wanting to open it up. Here's an interesting island. When you do a kitchen, you really want to add a personal touch. And I think this island really does a nice job of that. If you have an antique piece, or you want to create an antique piece, looking piece to it. One thing here also that I see on this slide is that you guys would shoot me. I do a lot of transitional and even more traditional kitchens of having toe valances. And toe valances are really nice. And the application, it makes it look like a piece of furniture. So I'm not saying don't put toe valances in, but when they did this toe valance here, this would be suicide, because a toe kick serves a purpose that you can put your toes under it. But you see how small that toe valance is as far as toe space. You would never get a foot under there. So you want to make sure, if you're going to do that, pick a toe valance that you're going to be able to get your toes under. Statement pendant lights. I think that's a terrific application there. Lighting, where do I go? Cleveland Lighting. I go see Betsy. She's absolutely terrific. And by the way, if you look at that fireplace, that's porcelain tile. So, and that could have been put on the floor. You can't tell that that's not real stone. And that's what porcelain tile does. And again, it will do it looking like bamboo. It'll do it looking like wood. I think that's a great application. But drawing back, okay, a couple different things. There's the black accents. Again, very popular. Look at what was done there. And you can go outside the box a little bit. Everything doesn't need to match. Everything, geometrically, everything. Look at all the different geometric patterns to that. And I think that's absolutely phenomenal look. But go ahead and make your statement. So you don't need to change the color of the countertops, different. You don't need to do this. You don't need to force your interest. You can have it organically come by just doing geometric changes and things like that. It's really, really sharp. Huge. I would put this as number, this is probably in the top 1 or 2 or 3 trends right now. Is not everybody has the space, but when you do, okay, that lady that didn't want to open the wall necessarily, by the way, she did open the wall, but we're actually building into the garage space so that she could have a walk-in pantry. And very popular. If anybody's in the Heights, you were born with this stuff. Usually they have the butler's pantries. Now, saying that, one of the things in the Heights is that they always have me take that wall out, get rid of that little butler's pantry. and enlarge the kitchen. So it all is in the eye of the beholder, but this is popular right now. I would say probably about 30% of my clients are looking to do this. And you can be very creative with it. You can put glass doors there. You see there's a lot of open baskets. A lot of you wouldn't go with the open baskets that many, as far as cleaning and things like that. But, you could really make a focal point of it. Apron front sinks. They're trending. They were very hot. If anybody gets my webinar series, this was probably one last year and it's hung on. But I got to tell you, it used to be about 50 to 60. When I say there's a trend out there, that does not mean that 100% of you guys are doing this. I would say a trend means that probably I would go anywhere from 25 to 40%. When it hits at 25 to 40% of my jobs are doing something, I would say then that's a trend. But if you look at that sink there, I would say that probably is about right now, about 30 to 40% of my jobs are doing that. Last year, I would probably say it was about 60%. So it's dropped a little bit. But the apron front sinks are really nice, made out of different materials. They can do single bowl, double bowl, they can do large, things like that. Bold countertops. We'll see if this holds true this year. I have not seen this. Well, we're only in January, but more people, everybody that I'm going out with right now, looking at countertops, everybody is drawn to the quartz and drawn to the more of the subdued marble type of look, like you see on the perimeter there. To a lot of people today, this might be too busy of a countertop. And the other thing you have to ask yourself is, can you live with it for the next, 20, 30, 40 years? Lighter wood grains. People are getting into more of the lighter wood grains. Painted cabinets is really popular too, again. And it's always been timeless, but people are having fun with it. Like I'm going to be putting, I don't know if anybody's been on my website, excuse me, but over the weekend, hopefully tomorrow, I'm going to add 2 kitchens. One's a Shaker kitchen and one is a Hinckley. If we have anybody out that way, Brecksville, Hinckley, Columbia Station, I do a lot out there too. And one is a Columbia Station one where we did a blueberry island with the white painted perimeter. And but when you're going into the woods, people are tending to go into the mid-tone to the lighter. If you go more of the modern feel, you're definitely going to be going more into the lighter woods. This is an interesting and a fun one. Banquette seating. And I love doing this. And this was popular. This is probably on my slide from last year. It's still popular. The nice thing about banquette seating is that in a smaller space, I can really enlarge the seating. And what do you mean by that? Well, if I put a table in, I have to allow an extra 3 foot on the 4 sides, which I need a lot of space for a table. And if you can go into the banquette eating, in that situation, I love how this kitchen, they did it. And, especially when the only negative to banquette seating is, like, I'm from a family, I got 10 brothers and sisters. And I would guarantee you that one of the brothers and sisters would always be wanting to get out and everybody would have to move every time. But other than that, like, this could be perfect for 2 people. And then when their kids are coming over, or grandchildren or things like that, or let's say they have 2 kids, it would be absolutely ideal. So something to think about. I can do it in modern, I can do it in traditional. Really, really nice. We talked a little bit about the app controlled. I mentioned that with the smart appliances. So I would definitely talk to Aaron or Jim or things like that. Or I don't know if you guys have all that interest in the smart. I think where I would really focus on with the smart appliances is that like getting involved in like if you're investing in a steam oven or something, how smart and things that they're controlled, like with that, like I mentioned, that example of the asparagus and the salmon. Natural materials. Bring a lot of natural materials in. From doing a job right now out in Concord. When I'm saying I'm doing a job, I mean, it was done last year and they're just now putting the finishing touches on it. But where we did a base, I did their kitchen a couple of years ago, and then we did their basement this year. Nice couple out in Concord. And what he did was he's gotten some of the farm, farm board, the B board in that, and is going to put it as the backsplash on the entertainment center and the bar. And then we're making a wood top. I have my Amish guys making a wood top of that type of wood, in the entertainment center. So just bringing in the natural materials. Where else can we do it? Glass. You could do interesting things with glass. Your countertops, going into your granites or, things like you saw that bold countertop, Even when I say natural materials, why not bring the outdoors in? A lot of time people will enlarge their windows, and the natural materials could be visual. You could have a beautiful backyard and bring in, all the beauty and the natural light and things like that. Hidden appliances. Okay, this is big again. This is hidden appliances was about, it just came back over the last, I would say, probably 1 year to year and a half. People, what they did, they would have their Krups, they would have their KitchenAid mixers with all the different designer colors, and they were an attraction, so you keep them out. I'm getting more and more people are wanting to hide, things. I have a job right now where, okay, if you take the left, I'm doing that right now in that pepper pipe job, 4 foot wide, but what I'm doing, instead of having those doors, it's actually a pantry by the 4 foot wide pantry by their table. I'm taking that section and I'm having a flip down door. And I just did it in Canal Fulton for a breakfast area in their morning room. And so I'm taking that and having the door flip down, which creates extra counter space. And then they can just slide in and slide out their coffee pot, whatever they want. And then when they're done, they slide it back and flip the door back up. It's almost like the old fashioned desk, type of situation. We can do pocket doors. There's a job that's on my website where if you look up on my website, I have a stainless refrigerator in the middle. It's a white kitchen and gold hardware. And so I have the stainless refrigerator. On the right, I have a pantry. On the left, another pantry. But the one on the right has the retractable doors, and you open it up, and that's their morning station. So morning station would be coffee, toaster oven, things like that. And then it opened up, the door opened all the way. So above they put the microwave. That's one of the things too about microwaves in the kitchen class. We'll talk about microwaves. I hardly ever put a microwave in anymore. And you're going to say, well, why is that? And I say, well, maybe in between now and the kitchen design class, you guys Google speed ovens. You'll be intrigued. Okay, so that takes us towards the end of the programming. Let me just talk about the educational subscription plan. The intent is not to get rich or anything, just to cover my costs on this stuff. But I have about, from the webinars during the pandemic, and each of these are about an hour long. Let me just read down some of the list of where the heck do I begin. Kitchen Trends 2021, I left that on there. 25 tips to the perfect kitchen, the kitchen layout, a study of guidelines, selecting cabinetry, huge. That's about an hour long. Selecting appliances, huge. Study of countertops, selecting plumbing for your kitchen, lighting the kitchen, accessorizing the kitchen. Then I've got bath webinars and I've got home offices. So you got about 20 hours of listening to me over a glass of wine, and it's all there for you recorded. Plus I have a book, a design book. I have a pricing program. All that is in the subscription package, and it's like 6 months for $100. So if anybody's interested in it, you can go online or just email me at john@thehalldesigngroup.com. Okay, you'd be foolish. People, if anybody out there has it and has used it, if you can hit me with a note, I can pass on. Okay, so here's what we have coming up. We have January 29th, that's 2 weeks from today, 25 tips to the perfect kitchen. Then we have the class, kitchen class from 9 to 11 on the 12th, then on the 19th, a bath design class. I have been asked over the last 20 years to be the feature speaker at these shows. These shows, I'm not overly excited this year about doing it, but they are happening. The Home and Garden Show is going to be February 20th. I told them I'm not going to have a booth. I'll come in and I'll talk on stage and then I'm going to leave. But you can check the schedule for when I'm talking there. The NARI, they were very smart. They moved it to the end of March. I think it's the end of March. And that's a great show. That's my favorite show. And I will have a booth at that one and talking. It's only 2 days. And the booth is just to give out educational material. So, okay, but all this can be done virtually because I'm giving these things virtually. You don't have to go to the shows to hear me. And then I think that's pretty much it. I think anything else? Anybody have any other questions? Anybody can, you guys can email me. There's my website. Okay, kitchen. Actually, this is the kitchen designs. Let me give you the other one. There's another website. I have 2 companies. One, I do design only work. Somebody's just looking for a designer to do their layout. And I have one that I sell product and things like that. The website that has more of everything is called thehalldesigngroup.com, TAGHALL designgroup.com. Or you can email me if anybody's interested in that subscription. You can email me and I can get you set up with that. Okay, thank you guys, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you guys back in 2 weeks, and then even following up on the class. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.